Welcome, 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 everyone. I am Heather Lee Strom, and we have an incredible topic today on this podcast number 18, The Delusion of Resistance. Welcome to Howling at the Moon with the Canine Guides, a riveting and provocative discussion about obscure things and dogs. Heather Lee Strom goes into more detail around channeled messages from these canine spirit guides, relating them directly to our everyday life. So this is a really important and impactful topic, and that is resistance. It's a really sneaky creature because so many of us do not have the capability to understand when we are resisting. I know I was there, I was part of that group. It happened to me, and it still does because it's so insidious that sometimes it sneaks up on us and we can't even see that it's there. So, my intention with this podcast is to raise your awareness so that you can eliminate this barrier from your journey. Resistance is one of the most common blockages for us, for those of us who are really trying, attempting, focusing on spiritual awakening, spiritual healing, spiritual ascension, and who are attempting to raise the consciousness of the planet. Resistance is our biggest enemy. So, we're going to talk about that in this podcast. I'm going to give you many true life experiences that I'd like to share with you about my experience with resistance. That was one of the biggest obstacles I had to overcome in my journey. And as soon as I did, I was able to just hit the ground running. So, if you can tackle this one beast, this one thorn in your side, and at the very minimum, be able to identify when you are resisting, then you're going to be so much more successful on your journey back to wholeness. So, this is going to be a really fun conversation. I'm going to bring in a lot of topics that many people are interested in, including plant medicine, rape and ayahuasca, and also some of my own experiences with myself and working with my clients to really help you fully understand the purpose of resistance, what it looks like, what it feels like, and what you can do about it. And then at the very end, we're going to have a healing frequency from one of the canine spirit guides to assist us in being able to identify resistance and dissolve it. How does that sound? Are you guys ready? Okay, so we're taking a topic that no one wants to talk about, resistance, and we're going to turn it into this really fun, engaging experience because it's not a bad word, it's not a four-letter word, but it is critical. So I made this video on YouTube called Four Critical Mistakes that people make that gets in their way of spiritual growth. And you can find it on my YouTube channel. I'm going to put the link below in the description so that you can find it. But go and look at that video and see if any of these four critical mistakes resonates with you. But in this video, I go into depth about resistance itself. So refer to that for more information. But for this podcast, we're going to go into a deeper understanding of resistance. Number one, resistance comes from the ego. The ego is part of us, it's a necessary part of us. So you will hear of people discuss and talk about ego death, but I believe we need to coexist with our ego. We just need the ego to take a back seat. But resistance is part of the ego because it's the way the ego tries to keep you in your lane. The ego does not like change. So anything in your life that promotes change or that stimulates you to want to change or that might provoke you to change is going to be flagged by the ego as a threat. So this happens subconsciously. We're not aware of it because that's the ego's job. So it's really hard at first to circumvent the ego and to see resistance for what it is. Once you get through that initial stage where you have instructed your ego and you've overcome your ego, and now your ego sits in the back seat waiting for you to instruct it to engage, it's a little bit easier to see this kind of stuff. But let's talk about what resistance looks like. We're going to talk about what it looks like, what it feels like, and what we can do about it. So, the common signs of resistance, the physical signs of resistance are holding your breath, setting your jaw, clenching, that's resistance. Maybe avoiding a topic or a conversation, there's some resistance there, some energy around resistance in that conversation. A very unconscious sign of resistance is when someone is just holding energy. So if you don't want to let energy go, that's sort of a downstream effect of resistance. So if you don't want to let go of your story or your history or how bad your childhood was, or maybe if someone suggests how to overcome this and you're not ready, you're going to offer resistance. Or you don't want to, you're going to offer resistance. You'll offer an excuse. So, excuses are resistance. You'll offer an excuse for why you can't do it, why you shouldn't do it, why it's an impossible ask or it's just not feasible. There might be some financial limitations there that can act as a resistance. There's many different versions of resistance. Another sign of resistance is when we judge other people. We're avoiding or we're deflecting our resistance. So that's always a telltale sign for me. If feel myself judging someone else, I instantly go inward and say, okay, where is it? Where's my resistance? So if I have an opinion, a real common opinion, we'll use an example. If I have an opinion about someone else's weight, about what someone else is eating, then there's some resistance to me within myself around that topic, some resistance around my own weight or around my own diet. So resistance can serve as a mirror to us sometimes. And a really subtle sign of resistance is just the fact that we might not be as open minded as we could be or as curious. So if you're having a conversation with someone and you feel some resistance about what they're saying or about that person, then you'll instantly be not interested, right? Have you had those conversations with people? You might not approve of who they are, what they're wearing, what they do for a living, what they said. This is also a form of resistance. So, all of these to me are a warning sign. And when I feel these creep in within myself, I know I need to take action. but they can be really hard to see in yourself until you've trained yourself to look for them and to appreciate them, because there's not a judgment on yourself when this creeps in, when the resistance comes in. There's not a judgment. You just want to notice it and know what to do about it. It's simply a fork in the road. Do you want to resist and stay firmly where you are? Do you want to relax and be open and curious and possibly change direction? So, this is the choice when resistance rears its head. The ego is telling you, I don't want to change. I don't wanna do anything new. I don't wanna learn anything new. So it's gonna tell you that what's going on at that moment is a threat to you, and it's gonna cause you to retract, right? When we retract into ourselves, we have an opinion, we're not open-minded, we're not coming from the heart with genuine curiosity and concern and compassion for other people. So it really blocks us. It blocks us from ourselves and it blocks us from our higher selves when we have resistance. Think of it like a shield, like a like a barrier, because it basically encases you so nothing can change. So when you're in a state of resistance, you cannot receive. If you're trying to manifest, people want to manifest things in their lives. They want more money, they want more time, they want more love. um, and this is all wonderful and great, but if you're sitting in the state of resistance, nothing will change. So it doesn't matter what you say, it doesn't matter what you put on your vision board. It doesn't matter what affirmation you say. If you're sitting in resistance and you're holding this frequency, nothing is going to move. So, what you're asking for is not going to happen. And this is one of the most critical mistakes I see with my clients. And I certainly was affected and afflicted by this for most of my life, and I know intimately what it's like. And now being on the other side of it, I am so thankful that I finally understand and I can finally see it for what it is and move past it. So, the point of this conversation and this podcast is to help you in doing that as well. So, some of us can be resistant and have no idea. I have clients who will sign up with me to have an appointment with the canine spirit guides. They're very excited about this opportunity. They have a list of objectives for the work. They fill out all their paperwork. They read the book. They watch all my podcasts. And we get into session and they're holding resistance. They're holding it in their energetic field. I used an example of holding on to their story or holding on to their pain. It sounds really counterintuitive, but there's many people that just don't want to let go of their story or their pain. If I bring it to their attention, usually the first thing out of their mouth or the first thought they have is, "Yeah, but." "Yeah, but." You know that one? "Yeah, but." In this case, it's really hard to see this in yourself. And this is where working with a mentor or a coach or having a really good friend that will tell you the truth, not something that you just want to hear, but will tell you what you don't want to hear, because that's where resistance lives. It lives where you don't want to go, and it has trained you to avoid it. So when I get these people on my caseload, they just don't move. The frequency can't go through. If you think about um, water and a brick wall, can water go through that brick wall? No. Water goes along the side of it. Over time, it can etch into the brick wall or the stone. We see that all the time. It can reshape stone, right? But it takes a long time to do it that way. So when we're holding resistance, we're basically putting up a brick wall that nothing can get through. So the canine spirit guides can't get through it because this has to be our choice. And when we're holding resistance, we're blocking that choice. So these people, even though they want to very, very desperately, they want to change, they want to be at peace, they want to be healed, it just doesn't happen because they're holding the resistance to that process until we each get to the point where we surrender. And usually it happens when we're so miserable that we literally just give up emotionally, mentally. We just say, I surrender. I I don't know what I thought I knew, but we have to get to that point where we're that desperate sometimes, and that's what it took for me. I had to get where I was that desperate, and until that point, the angst will continue to build, the anxiety will continue to build, the bad luck will continue in your life. You'll keep hitting the wall, you'll keep going in circles. It's like nothing changes in your life because the resistance keeps circling you backwards and holds you in this little, it's like a little whirlpool that you can't get out of. And it's maddening, it's frustrating. But if you can work with a healer that understands this, you can work together. You must work together. Everything is free will. I cannot do it for you. When you get to the point that you're ready to let go, then the resistance will be shown to you. You'll see it and it can be dissolved. And then we can make tremendous progress. But this is the number one thing that keeps people from achieving their goal of spiritual ascension, spiritual healing, spiritual awakening, understanding and receiving your calling, because all the resistance will block you from all of that. So it's really critical that we learn to spot it and what to do about it. So, are any of you feeling like you might be stuck in this whirlpool of resistance? Write it in the comments. Let's chat about it. The more we become aware of it, the easier it is to direct it and to circumvent it. And this becomes a lifelong dance. Resistance will always be in our lives, but as long as we understand it and we understand the purpose of it, which is to protect the ego, that's the only purpose it serves, is to protect the ego. So we don't want to feel wrong, we don't want to feel violated, we don't want to feel vulnerable, we don't wanna feel open because we could get hurt if we feel open, and this is what resistance does, is it prevents the ego from feeling any of this. It creates a brick wall. So I wanna give you some examples of my experience with resistance. If you've read my book, Canine Spirit Guides: The Healing Power of Man's Best Friend, there's a lot of examples of resistance in that book through my journey. And when we continuously fall prey to resistance, the wall gets thicker and thicker and thicker and higher and higher and higher. And what ends up happening is the messages have to come through louder and louder and louder from your own personal guides to try and shift you that bigger things start happening in your life. So we saw in my life where I got hit by a car on my bicycle and broke my back. And there you see me at the lowest of the low. And my resistance had created a rage within me. And here in this event, when I'm flat on my back and I can't move, the rage takes over. So, this is what happens when we allow resistance to govern us, to govern our behavior, our decisions, the choices we make, and it keeps us isolated. When we're open and curious, we're not in resistance. When we're open and curious, we engage with the world through love and respect. When we judge other people, we're resistant, we're closed, our heart's not open. We can't share the frequency from our heart. We might be sharing frequency from our mind, but this is not how humanity heals. We must heal from our heart. So, as long as we're resistant with ourselves and with other people, our heart is closed. I had a really profound message about resistance from ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is a shamanic plant medicine from the Amazon. Look it up. I'm not going to give you a whole tutorial on what it is, but it is a drug that's been used for centuries by the indigenous people of the Amazon, the medicine men and women, to connect us deeply to our souls, to our higher selves, to our higher knowing. And when I finished writing my book, Canine Spirit Guides, I was invited by ayahuasca to come and sit with her. Now, these plant medicines, I'm going to tell you about two today. Ayahuasca is a very profound, gentle, wise, impactful teacher. She's a teaching medicine. When you take this medicine, you go on a journey with ayahuasca, and she literally takes on a persona. Each person she'll appear to in a different persona. It might be a wild animal, it might be a god like Cyrus. I'm not familiar with the gods and the goddesses. It might be, one of them. I've heard people say Osiris. Um, it could be a person in your life that she appears to you as. Whatever would be acceptable by you is how she appears. And when I sat with her, I was I was one of those who was eager beaver. I was like, okay, I've done all my homework. I have done all my prep work. I've been medically cleared. I have been through the ringer to get here because I was tested before I got to go and sit with her. And I know I'm ready. I just knew I was ready. I was open and anxious and ready at the same time, excited to be there. Took my medicine, and for a long time, nothing happened. Everyone else in the room was having a journey. They were having emotional explosions. They were vomiting. They were purging. They were going through their shit. Nothing happened with me. After a couple hours, I got up, had another dose of ayahuasca, sat back down on my mat, and after a little bit of time, things finally started to happen. I saw all these beautiful colors, technicolor. I'd never seen so many colors, beautiful, just floating around, making all these beautiful designs behind my eyes and my mind's eye. And I was suddenly aware of someone being with me, standing next to me, a person, ayahuasca. And this is all with my eyes closed. I had gone inward. And ayahuasca says, don't fall for it. Don't fall for the illusion. Don't fall for the trip, right? The trip is usually where people hang out when they're using drugs like ayahuasca. They get to the trip, which is the pretty part, and they don't go any deeper. And she said, get past it, go deeper into the learning. You need to move into the resistance. And I said, wow, that's profound. But how do I do that? And she said, instruct it, control it. You are in charge. So when she said that to me, instantly, intuitively, I have no idea how I figured this out. Intuitively, I just knew what she meant. And with my thoughts, my consciousness, I instructed all these pieces to come together and form an arrow. And with this arrow, I then shot it into the resistance, breaking it up and dissolving it. And when that happened, I went deep. I finally got through the resistance and I was able to access the deeper part of me that I came there to spend time with and to understand and to reconnect. Now, another lesson she taught me, she gave me an analogy at that point because she's a teaching medicine. She will literally talk your ear off. She will tell you everything you want to know as long as you're not sitting in resistance. If you sit in resistance, what happens is nothing, or you vomit your guts out for the next 4 hours. You're sitting in resistance. When you're working with medicine, the purging is the way that we get rid of the resistance. So if all you do is purge and you don't go on your journey, you're still sitting in resistance. So she shared with me an analogy of the sperm and the egg. So the successful sperm has full intention to overcome all resistance. That's its goal in life. That's its only purpose in life, is to shoot through the resistance, through that cell wall into the egg to fertilize it, right? Think about that. How many sperms get to that egg? What, millions, trillions? I don't know. I can't give you that data. I know it's a lot. And all but one will hit the resistance and bounce off, right? When the successful sperm comes down that tunnel and around the corner, having no idea where he's going, except that he's fully intent on reaching his goal and not letting anything get in his way, breaking through all the resistance. This sperm has no idea what's going on. He just knows what he's guided to do. He knows what his purpose is. He doesn't know where it is. He's following his gut, coming around this corner in the dark over to this little bitty egg sitting in the corner. There's a whole lot of other sperm sitting around it. He doesn't stop to assess the situation. He doesn't stop to say, can I succeed? He doesn't stop to say, is it my turn to try and get in? Nope. He just plows right down the tunnel, around the corner, and into the egg, right? That's how we get through resistance. We full on shoot through it without any apologies, without any regrets, without any hesitation. We just go for it, right? She was showing me this example, and I have used it from then on out. I've used it in my life to know when I've been resisting. If I stop to think about it, if I stop to try and analyze it, if I stop to question it, then I'm sitting in resistance. So that for me was a great lesson from ayahuasca because that was really subtle. It's hard sometimes to realize that you're resisting. It's so quiet, insidious, and natural to go into that state. So it takes some practice and some coaching sometimes for us to realize that's what happened. Now, let's talk about an experience I have oftentimes with rape. Rape is another plant medicine that I use. Since my experience with ayahuasca, I've also been using rape on a regular basis. It is another plant medicine from the Amazon. It's a shamanic tobacco, and it's very skilled, especially skilled at breaking through resistance. And this is why I like it so much. When I work with rape, I am typically working with my own resistance and sometimes with my client's resistance. Let me explain what I mean by that. If I suspect that I'm sitting in resistance over something that's happened, a direction I want to go into, a belief that I have, or maybe a relationship, if I'm sitting in resistance around that relationship or maybe a business opportunity, I will sit with rape and request that rape show me the resistance and help me dissolve it because this is what this medicine does. Rape is a cleaner of the body, the physical body, the energetic body. And when you work with rape, if there is resistance in the body, it will cause you to purge to get the resistance out. So the more you purge, the more resistance you have. So that's a really good meter. It's really easy to see that conversion because you can see it in the bucket, right? So if you can sit with rape and not purge, then you're effectively holding that energy and holding that frequency without having a resistance to it. So I will work with rape if I expect that I'm holding resistance, and it will help me move through that. Because once I purge, the frequency can get through and I can move that resistance out of the way. Take it out of the equation. It will no longer affect me. It will no longer block me, and I can move forward in that direction. I had an interesting experience with rape. I did a 2-week intensive with rape, and it's a powder, it's a tobacco powder that you put in a pipe and you deliver it up the nose. And through this 2-week intensive, it was really, really hard. I was taking very high doses of rape. And from the very beginning, I was in resistance of that. I was in resistance of working with rape at that level. So, what rape taught me every time I resisted the pipe, so if I put the medicine in the pipe to deliver it to myself, I could put the medicine in and then I just couldn't deliver it. I was sitting in resistance. Every ounce of my being did not want to take the medicine. I would sit here with the medicine next to my face, half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, and not be able to deliver it because I was sitting in resistance to what the medicine had to offer. And once I took the medicine, I found out it would cause me to purge to eliminate this resistance. So I learned that the less resistance I had, the easier it was to deliver the medicine to myself. The more resistance I had, the harder it was to deliver the medicine to myself. So Rape was teaching me what this looked like. Rape also was teaching me that I could use this medicine with my clients by delivering it to myself with the intention of receiving it for them. So there were a lot of lessons taught, and Rape is one that I use Rape as a meter. So if I suspect it, Rape will confirm or deny it based on my response to Rape. So that being said, I had an experience recently where I was working with a couple clients that were really struggling. They were having a hard time with their own resistance. They were having a hard time really embracing and allowing spiritual healing and growth. And this began to frustrate me on some level because I felt like I wasn't succeeding. And so, as they sat in front of me during our sessions in full resistance, I began to reflect that resistance. I began feeling their resistance within me. So then it became part of me. I began to hold that resistance for them, and it had an impact on me. Suddenly, I'm in a state of resistance, whereas before I was not. It took me a while to figure this out. I was like, what's going on here? I'm getting anxious about these appointments. I'm resenting these clients because of where they are, and that's not how it works. That's not what I should be doing. What's happening? I began to ask questions. And Rape started calling to me. I know Rape wants me to sit with it because I'll smell it. I'll be out on the trail and I'll smell Rape. I'll be on my mountain bike and I'll smell Rape. I'll be working with a client and I'll smell Rape. And that's my intent. That's my invitation from Rape to work with it either for myself or for someone else. So I resisted that too. I was in such a state of resistance that I resisted working with Rape. The one thing that could help me, I said no thank you and didn't do it. I avoided Rape for about 11 months. Finally, because out of necessity, because I was so stuck with these clients, I surrendered. I said, okay, Rape, let's do this. So I took Rape with the intention of clearing any resistance around these clients, around my work, whatever it was. Show me where the resistance is and help me break through it. Just like with ayahuasca, help me shoot that arrow right through the middle of it and break it open, dissolve it, and get it out of the way. So I sat with Rape, and instantly I began releasing energy, releasing. And this happens in a variety of ways. It can be the breath, it comes through with panting. Sometimes I start growling. It could be purging, especially if you're resisting the medicine, you'll start purging, vomiting. You can start shaking. Everybody is a little bit different as far as what they experience when they're releasing energy. But I had a really great session with Rape, and I saw one of my clients that same day. And because it had shifted my energy so much, number one, I was no longer reflecting her resistance. And number two, I became more of an open portal, allowing me to receive precisely what this client needed at this moment versus what my resistance was telling me she needed. So it really changed the dynamic of the session, and we made headway. She was reflecting in the beginning, her resistance began to reflect on me. Now, this time, my clearance of the resistance began to reflect on her. So, by me clearing my resistance, the resistance that initially was hers, by me clearing that, I was able to help her clear her resistance. So you see how powerful resistance is. It's even contagious. So we have to be very conscious and aware of how much this affects us as human beings, how much it affects our society, and whether or not our society can grow and shift and elevate its frequency. By staying in resistance, nothing will change. By dissolving the resistance, everything will change in a positive way, in an enlightened way, into love and light, right? If we sit in resistance, it's not possible. Okay, so that was a lot about resistance. Now, we're going to be doing a channeled healing session with the canine spirit guides around resistance so that this will cause you to be able to see it. It will assist you in being able to see it more easily. We're not going to do anything that will individually dissolve your resistance, but it will give you the ability to identify it so you can take that action. Now, from here on out, my channeled healing frequencies are only going to be available to registered members. So the rest of this recording will only be available to the people in my community. If you want to join my community, it's free. You just need to sign up. So there'll be a sign up down in the description. If you want to receive the healing frequency from the canine spirit guides around resistance, then sign up for my community and you'll be guided to where you can view it. Okay. This way, we can build a community where we can support each other. So be sure and join my community if you're interested in this type of work. If you're not interested, just say no, thank you, and keep going. But from now on out, my healing portion to my podcast will only be available to my membership, and it's free. It's called the Pack Ascension membership. So these people will be able to experience all of the healing sessions from these podcasts. I'm going to actually load in the ones from the previous podcast as well. So you have them all in the same place. And as long as you're a member, you'll get access to this. So if you want to have all these really cool healing opportunities that are free from the canine spirit guides, just go to the description and sign up, enroll yourself there. And I'd also like to let everyone know that I have a massive group transformation opportunity coming up in October. This is the quantum expansion journey with the canine spirit guides. It's a group transformation opportunity. I'm going to take a small group on a journey together, and it looks like it could be a 6-month long journey. It started at 3 months and they keep adding to the program. We're going to meet every week on a Monday evening. It will be a virtual group, and there will be built-in integration and sharing sessions within that program so that as you receive the frequency healing and the frequency elevations, you're going to receive the support that you need to embody that fully. So this program is going to be working with every single canine spirit guide, the core 4 within my book. So Anthea, Oscar, Oeragon, and Eric. This program will spend it will spend 4 sessions with each canine spirit guide. And since it's starting at the end of October, there will be breaks for the holidays. So I haven't finished developing the program yet. We'll have to figure out when that will land as far as um, when it will end. So if you're interested in going through a very intense, in-depth, transformational spiritual journey with me and the Canine Spirit Guides, I'll put the link in the description so you can get more information about that, and we'll set up a discovery call just to make sure this is the correct program for you. Plus, I always have free opportunities on my website. You can go to my webpage, heatherleestrom.com/offerings. All my offerings are listed there, my individual offerings, my group offerings, my membership offerings, my courses. I do have a number of courses available at this point you can do online for yourself. And also now there is a link for free resources there. So be sure and check that out if you want some free stuff that you can do on your own. So check it out. Okay. All right. So that's all for now. For those of you who aren't in the membership program, thank you for tuning in to my podcast, Howling at the Moon with the Canine Guides. I look forward to seeing you next time. I don't know yet what the next podcast will be. I hope you got a lot out of this. I will see you next time. Love ya.